Hey guys, it's Paul and welcome back to my channel. I have my bachelor's degree in criminal justice with a minor in psychology, and I am going to say that for the next 100 videos because I am absolutely so proud of myself. And today we are here with another talking CJ, and we are about to go over another criminal theorist. And as we learned last time, I am really bad at speaking Italian, so we're going to do our best. But let's just get right in. So the theorist we're going to talk about today is Cesare Beccaria. I should know how to say his name. I've studied him every year in school. So he was born in Milan on March 15th, 1738, to an aristocratic family of the Austrian Empire. But his family did live very below the means of what you think an aristocrat would. He was Italian, of course, and from a very early age, he had massive mood swings. He would go through these phases of extreme enthusiasm and would be able to power through quite a bit, but then he would fall in deep depressions where it was hard for him to even get out of bed, which also followed with bouts of massive anger. He was known to be very reserved, probably because of these massive mood swings he has. When he was 8, he was enrolled in the Jesuit school of Parma. He was very frustrated with this because he didn't think their education was very versatile at all for the different ways people learn. He has said that his schooling was fantastical and oppressive to the development of human feelings. Him being so curious and asking all kinds of questions just didn't fit with this criterion at all. He did get through and ended up getting a degree from the University of Pavia in 1758. He studied law there. He was also known to be someone who valued his friendships and family relationships very deeply because he didn't have many of them. He did end up marrying a young woman named Teresa Blasco when she was 16, and it didn't seem that either family really wanted this marriage to happen, so he married her against everyone saying don't. But he had rekindled whatever problems there were with his family because he did end up receiving the family home once his father died. And him and Teresa ended up having 3 children together. So when you think of Beccaria and you start researching him, there are quite a few fields that he studied in and actually worked in. He was known to be a criminologist, a jurist, a philosopher, an economist, and a politician. But due to this video being mostly in the CJ realm, because it's a talking CJ, we are going to focus mostly on his criminology career. He is also known to be one of the greater thinkers of the Age of Enlightenment. He's known as the father of modern criminal law, the father of criminal justice, and the father of the abolition movement. So he became close friends with what we know as the Very brothers, and they formed a society called the Academy of Fists. Now, the Academy of Fists was supposed to make fun of how elitist and how serious these other societies took their group of people. But the Academy of Fists really offered a relaxed type of conversations about things going on in society at the time. And it brought a lot of people to wonder what exactly this group was doing. They talked a lot about reforming the criminal justice system because in the 1700s, it was nuts. And they became very close to quite a few French and British political philosophers. And they started a valuable cultural reformist movement. There was a journal called Cafe that was created in 1762. And Beccaria did post several anonymous essays in it, and the journal lasted about 2 years. But this is really when Beccaria started realizing, oh, people are starting to understand what I'm talking about. Now, he did write an essay called On Crimes and Punishment. I'm not even going to try to say that title in Italian, but this was also still anonymous. this. He was worried about the government backlash and controversy that would come from writing this, because he was going to argue quite a few things that just society should not seem as right anymore. He did publish this anonymously because he was going to talk about quite a few uncomfortable things and really point out how detrimental we have made the criminal justice system on society. On Crimes and Punishment is known as one of the first writings on penology and criminology. And the Academy of Fist members very much encouraged him to write this. They thought it was brilliant and that people needed to know about it. And Pietro Verri had been writing something on the history of torture that was used to inspire on Crimes and Punishment, along with Alessandro Verri, who was a Milan prison official at this time. And he had first-hand experience. He was letting Beccaria know about the prison system at this time that Beccaria also used for inspiration. And actually, before writing this, Beccaria had no knowledge on criminal law, but this is really what spiked his interest to keep fighting. So what are the details of this essay that seems to be so important? He does start speaking about the Milan Enlightenment, and he explains his contribution to the e-cafe essays that he was writing. And he completely advocated for criminal justice reform in this essay. He wanted to protect the well-being of not just victims, but criminals also. He believed we are all human, even if we make terrible decisions. He also explained in this essay that the criminal justice system needs to match whatever the societal norms are in that time period, because to us that is what's rational. And he spoke a lot about the fact that there needed to be limitations on what type of punishment we can give people. He also explained that there'd be no reason to have duels anymore, because yes, in that time period there were still duels, because we could be having laws that help protected people's characters instead of them feeling like they're going to have to fight to the death for it, or at least being very harmed. He also claimed that laws needed to be clearly stated. He wanted every person in the country, or even world if you just applied this to everything globally, people needed a chance to be able to understand what is right and wrong. And he was one of the first to explain that we needed to focus on educating and rewarding good behavior, and this would cause better results when they were released. That is still a very real argument we are having to this day. He was very against torture. He did not like it and didn't think it was useful for obtaining information you needed from people. He thought it was an unfair power you would have, and he argued that this punishment was very inconsistent and very unequal to people. He also argued that capital punishment could be a form of torture. He believed that the state, or whatever body of government, does not have the right to take a life, and that it's unuseful and unnecessary as a punishment because you're not teaching that person anything, they're dying. And he truly believed that we needed to leave life or death for God to handle. He argued that the punishment needed to be equal to the crime, or there was no way that your brain would connect what you had done was wrong. That equal punishment to crime was honestly the only way we would ever really get deterrence right. He believed that if you continue to increase punishment for something, a person just starts normalizing that behavior, which actually makes them a lot more dangerous when they are released. And this was another argument on why the punishment had to be equal to the crime for it to work. He also argued that your punishment needed to be very close to whenever the crime occurred for your brain to also compute that these two are related. And with this, he argued that swift punishment was actually way more effective than severe punishment. He also explains that there was just not a lot of research at this time on the subject. Like, why were people not looking into more effective ways of punishment when we're releasing these people back into society? And he had two key philosophies that he really used within his studies and this essay. One is social contract, and that is that the law exists to build and mold the social contract that we have in society. And since Beccaria believed that humans have free will and that we can make our own choices, he believed that's why there was a government within the human race. And it is used to maintain order and fairness. And he stated that within the social contract, the reason that crime occurs is because humans are more susceptible to doing what makes their life better. And the second key philosophy he used was utility. The government needed to focus the laws around what was going to cause the greater good in society. Now, he did talk about his views on gun laws. He was actually one of the first to ever advocate for gun control because he claimed that the person that was getting assaulted, it made it 20 times worse for them because they had to be way less courageous to pull a gun and kill somebody than really getting close to them and stabbing them. It just makes it so much easier to kill. And there were three main things that were the reason that Beccaria thought the way he did on the criminal justice system. He believed that people had free will. We can make our own choices, that we are not like predestined to already have our choices chosen for us. And he did not believe that Satan was the reason you made bad choices. We make them ourselves. He also believed in another thing was rational manner, that we can rationalize to ourselves what's going to be the best choices for our personal self-growth. And the last one is manipulation. Clearly, humans can be manipulated. We have not figured out how not to be yet. So that's another factor that he really looked into. And On Crimes and Punishment was translated very quickly. It was translated in French, German, English, Polish, Spanish, Dutch, and Beccaria's work influenced a lot of people. George Washington bought a copy in 1769, and he actually wrote the American government to explain that the death penalty was happening far too often. James Madison was another one. John Quincy Adams also enjoyed this work. Thomas Jefferson had mentioned it in his own books and articles and writings. John Adams quoted it. It helped shape the U.S. Constitution and the Bill of Rights, specifically the 8th Amendment. James Wilson, who had signed the Declaration of Independence and Constitution, used Beccaria's work often in his arguments. And actually, Catherine the Great publicly supported Beccaria and his work too. And due to him just feeling so supported and realized how thoughtful he actually was, he republished On Crimes and Punishments with his name and recognition. So Beccaria was invited to Paris. A lot of intellectual people around this time were going to Paris to join forces per se, and the very brothers were also people that went to it. But man, Beccaria's shyness and reservedness, it really hindered him getting to know and working with these people. He got incredibly homesick, and he just really did not leave a great impression. And the very brothers who didn't have clear mental illness, right? They just didn't understand it. They didn't get how Beccaria could throw away such an opportunity at that time. And after Beccaria left within 3 weeks, that friendship was pretty much over by that point. And Beccaria never ever went out in Milan again after that. Now, he was appointed to several positions in Italy, but he never wrote another essay again. He just didn't have the group of friends and support anymore he had with the very brothers that really inspired him and helped him along with his work. And his depression was just so debilitating at this point that he just never was able to get that drive to really write again. European areas did say that they were going to really incorporate his ideas into their society and criminal justice system, and specifically about the death penalty. And in 1774, Teresa, his wife, died from increasingly bad health. And 3 months after that, he got remarried, but at the end of his life, he became just debilitatingly depressed. He completely withdrew from everybody and ended up dying in Milan on November 28th, 1794. But his work on crimes and punishment, they are still talked about today. There are still very heated controversies and debates that happen over this and the ideas, but a lot of people can relate to the way he thought, especially at the turn of the century during the Enlightenment period. It was the perfect time to introduce these ideas, and he has single-handedly helped change criminal justice reforms over the world. But that's all I have on Cesare Beccaria. Thank you guys so much for watching, and please like and subscribe for me, and hit that notification button. That way you're notified the next time I upload. Don't forget, there is a GoFundMe page for Crystal Young, and if you've watched her video, you 100% understand why this mom needs this private investigator. But if you haven't, please go and watch it. I also have stickers still for sale based on my Unsolved series last year. Oh wow, it's 2023, so in 2021. They are $2 each, and all proceeds go to the Cold Case Foundation, so it is for a good cause. But like I said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!